Hello ladies and gents, and welcome to a new video series that I'll be doing from time to time called My Bad Movie Reviews. I guess that's what I'm going to call it, because movies are becoming so consistently bad that, like, as in poor quality and bad writing, that whenever I watch a movie and it's bad, I'm just going to give a damn review on it. And the perfect movie is a movie that I just watched at the beginning of my 34-hour reset as a trucker. It's called The Shift, and there's spoilers in this movie review. So if you ain't watched the movie yet and you want to watch it, don't watch this video. But anyway, here's the plot. Basically, it's there's this book in the Bible called the Book of Job, and in the Book of Job, and this movie's based on that, where it's kind of like a modern take on the Book of Job. Where in this old book of the Bible, there's this guy named Job, and he's like the most godly man on earth and most faithful to God, blah, blah, blah. And God blesses the hell out of him by, I guess he's got a good business going on. He's got a lot of cattle, a lot of camels. He's got a wife, got kids, etc. You know, he's just balling. And then Satan basically tells God to say, hey, man, I bet you that if you take away all his stuff and basically stop protecting him and blessing him, that he'll curse you. And God's like, oh, I'll take that bet. And yes, this is literally in the Bible. So to win a bet, God gives Satan permission to do whatever the hell he wants to this guy. So Satan takes away his kids. He kills his kids. He kills his wife. He destroys his business. He loses everything, and even loses his health. And then... yeah, it basically, long story short, Job keeps his faith, and God wins the bet. And then God makes it up to Job by not giving back his wife and kids and business and everything, but instead he gives him a new wife, new kids, and new business and everything. But his original wife and kids are fucking dead. And it's like, this is God. I mean, we're talking about, you know, where Jesus is his son, and he gets killed and comes back to life 3 days later. And there's been a time where Jesus actually resurrected the dead, but yet God won't resurrect his original wife and kids. No. But yeah, anyway, it's still a fucked up story. And, but anyway, and Christians are brainwashed into believing that it's a great story of faith, but in reality it was a demonstration that you shouldn't trust Satan or God, because God will literally let your life fall apart just to win a bet with Satan. And if God loses a bet, you're still fucked. And if God wins the bet, all the people around you, close to you, that you lose, they're still dead. So yeah, so basically both Satan and God don't give a shit about you, and you're just stuck in the middle of their war with each other. So that's literally the moral of the story of Job. But Christians are brainwashed into thinking, oh no, if horrible things happen in my life, it's a test from God, whatever. But anyway, we can leave religious debating aside, and let's talk about the movie called The Shift. And I originally was going to watch it because the guy who acts as Satan originally once acted on a Star Trek movie, so as a Star Trek fan, I was going to watch it. Anyway, it's a modern take on Job, where you got this guy who's got a good business, beautiful wife, he's got a son and everything, and basically over time his son disappears, and him and his wife go through the grieving process of losing their son, and that eventually leads to the marriage falling apart, of the grief of him losing his son. And then his business falls apart, and then Satan shows, and then he gets in a car accident. And at first you think, oh, maybe he just died, because he immediately appeared somewhere else in what looked like an empty town, with just him and this dude who he eventually figures out is Satan. And Satan explained to him that he didn't die, that what he did is that as the car accident started, that he shifted this guy to another reality. So it's It's a movie where in a universe where Christianity is real, but also multiple realities are real. And Satan has this technological device on his wrist where he pushes a few buttons and he can shift whoever he wants to whatever quantum reality he wants. And he's basically trying to recruit this guy to be Satan's right-hand man. And he says, and Satan was thinking that this guy would accept his offer because Satan would offer him whatever he wants in exchange for working for him. Which is weird because usually it's like Satan wants your soul, but apparently Satan wants to give this guy a job. And anyway, this guy refuses and starts praying, and he immediately disappears. But this is all happening in an alternate universe where Satan successfully, completely takes over the world. And they have some weird title for him, and he's really ruling Earth in this alternate reality. And so everyone is afraid of him. And so he's in this alternate reality, and he's trying to write scripture from what he remembers and passes it around like some kind of underground movement. And then, which so far sounds like a kind of a cool sci-fi Christian story, which is weird because usually Christian movies are cheesy and lame. And but the trailer made it sound like a cool sci-fi story, so of course I was going to watch it. And it's turned out to be a cool story because this guy eventually steals a time shifter wrist from someone else working for Satan. And in this alternate reality where Satan rules the world, there's this one dude who's just a human being who somehow developed the technology for you to sit in this circle. And if you sit in this circle, you could actually look into other quantum realities without actually going there. And he was using this technology, the main character was using this technology to find out which wife that Satan shifted his wife to, because Satan revealed to him that sometime right after he lost his son, that Satan replaced his wife with another wife from another reality and basically sent his real wife off to some random reality. And it's a reality where he left her. Anyway, so he's been trying to find which reality his real wife is in this whole movie. And then what happens after that is that Satan eventually catches him and then offers him a deal to basically be his right-hand man, and then Satan will give him whatever he wants. And he says, well, I want my son back and I want my wife back. But right before Satan catches him, he uses the combination of the technology looking at other realities and the wrist device that he stole to actually go to the reality that his real wife is at. And he actually goes there and he reconnects with her, and and just as everything is about to be good, Satan grabs him and pulls him out of that reality back into the reality in which Satan rules the world, and he basically destroys the wrist device so he can't go back there. And so his real wife is left devastated, sitting down surrounded by friends, and she's just bawling her eyes out because she got her real husband back only for Satan to take him away from her. And then he literally vanishes in front of her eyes. And then when this whole time, this guy eventually figures out that this is a Job test. Like, oh, this is like the book of Job. God is testing me. And basically, Satan forced him to make a choice to basically either choose to be a Christian or choose to not to. But it was in a more metaphorical sense. And he basically passes God's test. And this is how God rewards him. Satan vanishes, and he's free, and then God shifts him into an alternate reality with an alternate version of his wife, who in that reality she's a single mom and has a daughter. And the movie ends with him just making a life with that alternate wife of his, while his real wife is still devastated, wondering where the hell her husband went. And he's just living up his life with this alternate reality version of his wife that isn't his real wife, and a daughter. and he still doesn't get his son back. And it's just, and in this new reality, God shifted him to his business is successful again, blah blah blah. But yeah, so it's just like, so in the end, God lets Satan take away this guy's business, his wife, his son, his health, everything, and in the end, God gives him another wife and a daughter, doesn't give him his son back. And so, yeah, the material things he gets back, but when it comes to what really matters, his original family, he doesn't ever get back. His original family is missing somewhere off in the multiverse. So it's like, what the fuck? And God doesn't say one word to him. God at least bothered to actually talk to Job at the end of the story, but God didn't even bother to talk to this guy. So basically, the moral of the story of this video, of this movie, is that both Satan and God are assholes. That's basically the moral of the story. And the main character just has to be grateful that God didn't shift him into an even worse reality. That's it. Which makes sense considering that Christians have to be grateful that God won't torture them for all of eternity, all because God created imperfect beings and decides to punish them for all eternity for not living up to his expectations. So yeah, this Christian movie makes about as much sense as Christianity itself. So, the moral of the story of this movie that's based on Job is the same moral of the story of the book of Job itself. Both God and Satan are assholes. There you go. So, there's my first bad movie review. Until we meet again.